Hi, welcome here, Patreon members. It's This week's video is about just giving your blending board and your drum carder a bit of love and care and attention. Um, Unfortunately, I can't take the drum off because Phil, Mr. Phil, has hidden the socket wrenches and the monkey wrench. So we will approach that topic later down the line. Okay. So what I'm going to do today is show you how to proficiently tidy up and clean up your blending boards, which seems like an obvious thing, but it has been requested, and also how to have a good clean up of your drum carder where those fibres get muddled about and everything else. So I've inserted a picture here of the tools that you can find round about your house that will help you fix if you've got any issues, it's jamming or it's just feeling a little bit like you're fighting with your drum carder. So a brand new toothbrush, not been used. Okay, brand new toothbrush helps just get all the dust and particles and everything else out. You can excuse my old gammy. I'm in the middle of decorating my bathroom at the moment, so I just grabbed this. A brush, a paintbrush will do if you haven't got any spare toothbrushes around. A paintbrush will do. A nice soft bristled brush will work wonders. For the drum carder, you want something like a stitch blocker. Little cheapy ones will do fine. This was a Christmas present. Tweezers are your friend, especially the sharp nose tweezers, if you can get some of those, a bit of an angle on them. Obviously, your packing brush helps with you get work done and cleaning stuff out. And this little gadget you can buy from Amazon. It's a lifesaver. It's an absolute game changer when it comes to trying to get in if you can't get especially if you're working with neps. And I will show you on the drum carder how brilliant this thing is. It's actually a hairbrush cleaner, a little rake, and they usually come in packs of twos. I did have two of these, but I gifted it to a customer in an order that was quite intrigued by this. So it's a hairbrush cleaner. You can find them on Amazon from anywhere from, I think, £3.50 up to about £6-7. That's what you want to look for. You just want to type in and search hairbrush cleaner, and it should look like one of these little fine tine rakes. And it's an absolute game changer. I know some people use porcupine quills. I'm not really into that. I've never seen the point of it, but I clean my machines, as in like working wise, every time I use it. But the actual getting stuck into the sides with the bars on the drum carder, I do that probably less often, maybe once a month or something like that, and it's desperately needing it now. So I'm just going to tilt you down. I've got my drum carder out here. So I want to show you what I do when it comes to trying to just give it a good clean after I've finished using it. Okay, so you can see she's got wool on it from when I last worked on it. There's all those dark patches is actually flecks of dust and things like that from the wool, which you always get. You always get these flecks of dust off wool when you're working with it. It's just the residue dye from the milling section. So you can see I just generally go over with my carder. Hold a minute, try and go down that way, and just try and peel up the fibres. Because when I'm using the drum carder, I usually push down, because those times you need to have them going in the same direction or the opposite direction for you to get past that way, which is no good. But if you just do that, you can sort of grab some bits and pieces and you can get that off. You get not a lot, so I'll put that to one side. So I've managed to get that much off so far. Let's see if we can add to it. I'm going to use my hairbrush cleaner just to clean out my cardan cloth. Oh. And that's that back to clean again. Put that to one side and just pull off those bits of fluff off there. Now I'm going to go in on my blending board, and this can go right down the bottom, and it pulls up all those bits that are in between the tines of your board, and it doesn't do your tines any harm whatsoever. Look at that, there's a bit more, but it will help lift out those ones that you can't quite reach with your fingers or with your cardan brush. There's a long fibre there. neppy bits are a nightmare when it comes to your blending board. So just give it a really good dig down. Any more? I mean, you could go up the way. That may get some more out. And that's generally what I do. I do this every time I'm finished with my board. Obviously, I've left my last work on there, so I've just found Angelina that I didn't know was in there. I've managed to get that out. There's some more Angelina in there. As soon as you start to move it, it appears. There's another piece there. So it's great for doing that sort of thing, and I use this on my drum carder as well. Now, I've got lots of dust particles. It's like grime inside the tines of the board. Okay, so now what I need, there's actually still Angelina in there. I've just spotted some when it twinkled in the light. Let me see if I can get that out. There we go on it. See if I can get it going up this way. Every so often you just see a fleck and you're like, oh, you little so-and-so, come here. You might contaminate my next piece of work. Maybe I don't want any Angelina or plastic in there at all. Now I can't quite get that. There's two pieces right down the bottom where the fibers have broken when I've been using it. So there's my pile. It's got a little bit bigger. There's the bit that I've just taken off with the comb. So these pieces here with my little comb, and that was the piece I took off with my carding brush. So you can either go in with a toothbrush, or you can use a paintbrush, and you want to just literally bristle nose down the fibers and all the dust that's resting in between the tines, and you'll see it moving down your board. Wait till you see this in a minute. Oh, it's awful. And then I'll repeat this again to make sure I haven't missed any sections. That's it coming off now. That is what's been hiding and lurking in between the tines of my blending board. I know this is just all the fibers that you're using. It's fiber that's in there, but it's also dirt as well. Because remember, no matter how much you wash wool, even if you're blending it yourself at home or processing the fibers at home, sheep fleeces and things like that, you're always going to get leftover residue in there, and you'll see it gather underneath your drum carder all the time. And it happens even at the mills as well. Some people complain about it, but you know what? It's a product that's. I've just found another neppy piece. There we go, a little nep. It's just one of those things. It's something you have to live with. You're never going to get it totally and utterly free of debris until it's been washed a good few times. And these are your micro particles. So I'm just going to. Oh, I've just spotted a piece of Angelina. I've got it on my brush. There we go. That little tiny piece of Angelina in there. Make sure you go all the way down your edges. And then there you go. I think I'm just about done. Got some more of that dust out of there. And there we have it. That is a really good, relatively spotless blending board again. Have I got any more? Yeah, I did manage to get some dust particles out of that. So there you go, look. So just from using a brush, a hairbrush cleaning device, rake, and my carder. That's it all out of there. If you find that there's still bits of Angelina in the bottom that you haven't quite got, and I've just spotted a piece, then use your tweezers and just try to grab that out of there. Where is it? It's gone again. Now, using tweezers is really quite fiddly because it tends to want to grab the tines as you're doing it. Right, so there we go. One relatively spotless blending board. So I'm just going to go and pop over and bring the drum carder over here, and I'll talk you through my cleaning process without my blinking spanners and my socket wrench. Okay, so brought my drum carder over, as you do, onto your workstation. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to get my little toothbrush, and I'm going to use that to try and get in these edges and corners here to remove any dust, which I can see moving, any dust that could be stuck in the joins along here. One second, just move you a little bit. And the joins that are in here and the blocks and stuff like that. Everyone, my drum carder, as most of you know, comes from Paul Britton at Classic Carders. Everybody's drum carders are slightly different depending on who you've bought it from, but I tend to like to use a toothbrush just to get in there with nooks and crannies with my brush. Now there's certain sections I can't get into, which is behind these blocks, so I'm going to use my paintbrush and see if I can actually dig out some of that dust that's in the back corner. There we go. And there's some down here as well. And just give it a little wiggle. There, I can get some of that out now. So the next thing I want to do is I can either get my carding brush, my carder, and I can do that. And you see me do this all the time on my videos. But if you start, so what your best way to do to remove things off this one is to literally turn it like you're going to blend. So as you pull these fibers off the front liquor, and this is moving at the same time, the back drum actually catches it. It's not going to get all the fibers, but is actually going to pull up most of them and then literally drag it onto the back carder. So then I go across and pull the fibers off with my carding cloth, my hand carder, and get as much as I possibly can off there. And there we've got, and then I repeat this the way that I do with my blending board. So there you go, there's all the fibre. That's a lot of it from the weekend. I also want to show you a picture now of the state of my work days underneath my drum carder from blending up 8 bats and 8 mini bats at the weekend. You need to remember to, if you're blending a lot, that is, okay, especially if you're using things like Angelina and stuff like that, and then you go to blend up a bat that's not got any sparkles or anything like that, you just want it to be a silky blend or whatever, remember to clean underneath, pull everything that's out there, undo your carder, take it off your workstation, clean all the mess and the bits and pieces, because there's loads of it. You see on this picture now, there's loads of it, so you need to pull it all out, give it a wipe down so it's dust free, and then start again. If you let that build up and you don't clean up underneath your drum carder, you will find eventually that pile will get up so high it'll start to touch this back drum and it will get sucked in. You'll be wondering, where's that Angelina come from? I'm not using Angelina. And it's really because it's underneath here. It's surprising how much, and especially if you've got a standard carder, your height from your workbench to the back drum is actually shallower. So you will want to make sure you clean out underneath, especially if you're drumming up a fair few bats at any one time. But do it as just a regular thing. When you finish drawing the card, and just put your hand underneath and grab what's under there. Okay, so now I'm going to get my little hairbrush cleaner, and again I'm just going to keep turning this around, see what I can grab up. There we go. That piece keeps falling off. I'll grab that. And then I've got some nappy bits in here as well. Some nappy bits on there. And I'll just keep doing this until I've got all the fibre off that I can spot. Just keep doing that along there. There's another piece. And then I repeat it on the back drum. And then just keep cleaning that, spotting where all the bits and pieces are. And then just keep repeating that until I've got my drum carder free of as much fluff as I can actually spot. My drum carder's protesting. There we go. He should stop complaining because he's going to get a tidy up in a minute. Right, so keep doing that. And I've got some more bits of red in there from blending up Tussar silk the other day in Mulberry Silk Noil. The noils can be really quite a nightmare to work with. I've got a little bit of fusty down here that I can't quite get. I'm trying to just get that in there and then lift up those last bits. So I've done one full round all the way around that card up. So I'm going to go in with my paintbrush. So that's what I've pulled off the back drum. It's relatively clean. So that's what I've pulled off so far, front and back. And it's relatively clean anyway, because I am really, really good at keeping an eye on the tidiness of my drum carders. So I'm going to go around with my brush now and just make sure it's free of any type of dust, and it will catch little stray bits of fibre that you might not have seen. There's some more there. Make sure it's free of dust, and then do that the same on the back here. And I do it lengthways because it's just easier to do along the width. There we go. But you shouldn't really see much dust on the back of your drum card anyway, because it's constantly rotating. So that's where all that dust and grime that you're seeing underneath, that's where that's coming from, is because there's so much motion going on up on this end that gravity, there we go, is another piece, gravity pulls down any dirt or grime that's left over, or dye particles from the mill or from your own dye trays. There we go. And there was hardly any dust on that whatsoever. So what we need to talk about next is, if you find, and we'll turn this around to make sure I'm not in the way of anything. Oh, there we go. So we've got the cog side. Okay. Now, if you find that you have to take off, either replace this section here, see if we can get you back a little bit further. If you have to replace your drive band, or if you're finding that you've got fibres stuck underneath, you've got fibres stuck right in the back, which I'll put the camera up close to that in a minute once I've just talked you through. You can take these off using a socket set. You know, one of those things that, like, it's got like a long bolt on the end of it. I say bolt, it's got like a long nozzle and it fits over the top of your nuts, and then you just crank it and it'll help loosen these off. Now this one here is the one that's attached to my drum. These cogs here, You take them off, and then you can get right in behind and take out all the fuss that's collected and all the dust and grime. Unfortunately, Mr. Phil's going to get murdered. But I will show you another time, and hopefully, which I've never managed to do yet, is actually swap over this 72 tine for 120 tine drum that I've actually got, which I've never ever used, which we really could do with doing that as a video one time, which I'd have to take all these off anyway. Well, this one specifically. But top tip, what you want to do before you even attempt to take this band off is take a photograph of it. So quite literally, get your phone and take a picture of that, and then go in closer. See, go in closer so you can see where this is moving around here, and then it comes around this cog, and then over this one, and then back over this one, and then down here. That is the sittings, the fixings of which way. Oh, I'm going to try and get that. That is the fixings that you need to remember. So by taking a photograph of that, that will help you put it on the right way around. Now this is getting a bit of yellowing on it. It's not in direct sunlight or anything like that. It's always over there in the shade, but that's just age. You can get black ones, but I don't see there's any wear or tear in it at the moment. You want to get in touch with your brand that you've got, or you can, I suppose you could always reach out to Paul Britton. I mean, I say Paul Britton at Classic Cards because, well, he makes them for a living, so he may know or be able to replace this for you for a certain amount of money, which is not overly expensive anyway. But what you should see, I'm going to take this off. I've taken a picture. I've taken my picture. I can take it off. So now I can take this off, and I'm just going to gently tease. This is when you all go, "Oh, Joe." It's a truly dreadful moment, but sometimes it has to happen. So on there, that you can't quite, can you just make it the numbers? No, not quite. There's serial numbers on there, so you should be able to, if you can't get it from your supplier, you should be able to replace this. You look it up online, Google search, and type in just put Polycord band, and then type in the serial number. You should be able to find something on there. If not, go on Amazon, or, as I say, contact Paul Britton, ask him what dimensions of polycord you need. Now this has been heat set like you would do your drive band on your spinning wheel anyway, so that's what he's done with that. So he probably has reams and reams and reams of the stuff. But what we're going to do next, just dust this off, because it's gets really grimy on one side but not on the other, and I just want to get stuck in there with my paintbrush and clean that dust down. And I do the back of it as well. I do it all, to be fair. Now I'm going to go get into the cogs, and this is why using your toothbrush is really handy, because we'll just get you moved over a minute, because you're covered in wires. Bear with me a minute. Right, there we go. So you can see in there, that's all my fibres that are trapped and just need a good clean off. It's not actually too bad, because you can tell I clean it out regularly. But in the cogs here, you find dust build up, and that can actually drag on your actual drum carder when you're blending with it. Okay, so you just want to get, this is where you want your toothbrush. Okay, you want that to help clean out this grime and dust. Okay, and you can use it to get in and around here if you are unable to find your socket set. And again, if you can squeeze that in there, but you can see they're in pretty decent nick. I don't seem to have any fibres wrapped or stuck or trapped about them, but I would love to be able to get this off and that one off, and get the cogs off. That's what I'd normally do, but unfortunately at this moment I can't. And I'm going to repeat this process on the liquor bar as well, the liquor cog as well. So I need to try and hold that. Right. Keep doing that. There we go. And I've got fibres in there. Not too bad actually. So I need to use tweezers to get that out in a minute, and then I need to use my stitch plucker in there. And then I'm going to get stitch plucker in that bit and over there. So I'll do that in a sec. And I also need to get my brush. So I need to free up those sections there. Right, so I'm gonna I'm lucky I've got little tiny hands because I can actually get into these little nooks and crannies without any problem. But in an ideal world, I use stitch pluckers and tweezers to pull out the fibres that are jammed inside here. And if I just grab my tweezers, they might help a little bit more because I'm at a really awkward angle in comparison to what I normally do when I'm doing this. Okay, a minute. Trying to grab this is really fiddly. Right, try and get in from that angle. And then just tease the fibres off until they've completely gone. So that was wrapped around that cog of the bar. And I'm going to go over this end because it's a bit closer to me and I can actually get into it. So again, I'm just going to try and tease off the fibres that were stuck in here that you saw. Quite literally tease them off. It's really fiddly. It's a time-consuming job. It'll take you a good half an hour to an hour if you've not cleaned it out for a while. And I find that really annoying using these. I prefer to use my stitch plucker because it's got a really pointed end and it takes no prisoners and it does exactly what I need it to do. And I can just grab those bits, see? And it tears the threads too, which is brilliant. So again, I just have to put my fingers in there and tease that off. And I'll get me plucker as well because I can get right in these sections in here. There we go. I know you can't really see what it is that I'm doing, can you? I know it's really hard to get this done. Right, hold a second. I will get you in a better position in a second. All right, trying to grab this piece of oiled fibre in there. See if I can get my brush in just to see if I can actually flip that off. Nearly. Right. There's more fibre in there stuck. It gets stuck right inside. There we go, that's probably better for you. It gets stuck right inside here as well in these sections. So using a stitch plucker can help just tease out these fibres. And if I just turn it around a little bit more, there we go. That is about as good as I can do. Now I'm going to use my stitch plucker to help tease out these fibres that are trapped on the front licker. And because it's a stitch plucker, it helps me tear and break those fibres on here. I mean, this is 2 months of use since I last cleaned it. I think last time I cleaned it was back in October probably. And I just tease that off. You've got bits of Angelina in there as well. And then I just literally repeat this process, both sides of the licker. Oh, trying to move it with my hand. And then move that again. There we go. try and see, it gets wedged inside the bits where the wood is as well. Can you see that coming out there? So I need to just stick my pocket under there again, get my fingers in, tease that out, give it another little turn. Oh look, there's a bit of fluff there, that's come out from when we're cleaning. And again, just tease out these fibres from where the metal joins the wood. At the same time I need to push it back in that direction to tease them out. So there you go. That's exactly the type of process that you want to be doing. You can see down here now there's a little bit of fist that I need to grab a hold of. See if I can get my fingers in there and get it up there. There we go. Completely cleaned that section now. So look, it can move again. So because it's moving again, I can actually get these fibres that are trapped inside the wood. Let me see if I can, there we go, pull that out, there we go. So that shouldn't give me any, there's a little brush in the bottom of this, so I'll see if I can get my little fingers in there again. This is how my fingers and my fingernails are never nice. So that's what we've pulled off that little bit so far. We've got this section over here. So I can actually move that now. See, that's where it normally positions because it's been wedged there with fibre. And that's been wedged there with fibre. But if I push that down that way, because it's loose now, I can now get in to that. How cool is that? Just give it a little wiggle. My fingers, see if I can loosen some without actually using my little gadget. Just tease it off because I've already loosened off one side and it's back to moving freely again, which is ideally what you want. There we go. Yeah, there we go. That's looking cool so far, nearly there. This one's not as badly bunged up as I have seen it in the past. And this thing is a workhorse. Well, all the, I have to admit, all the carders that I've ever had from Paul Britton are absolute delights to work with. I'd love to be able to afford an electric one, but it's just not feasible. It's like the Rolls Royce or the Bentley of drum carders. There we go. So look at that, back to being all nice and clean and tidy again. There's enough movement in there and a gap that you genuinely don't need to add any lubricant to it at all because it's free moving. Okay, so that was just off those, oh, come back a bit, off those two pivot bars on my liquor. So pop that over there. Now I need to get into this side. So we're over at the back drum now, and here we go. So that's not too bad actually. It's got some fibres in there. Just squeeze my finger in, but it's not too bad. So I should be able to, I can move it slightly so it's not too cogged up on the other side, which is not too bad for me. But I'm just gonna, look at that, pop that off there, and then try my damnedest to get my plucker in the back of this drum and just tease those fibres. I'll have to move this around, tease these fibres out a little. Oh, sorry, forgot which way I'm pointing is because I'm holding this and trying to get in there so you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so it appears that I seem to, for some bizarre reason, lost audio by this point. So you can see me here just teasing the last of these fibres that are really wrapped around in that little groove in the knot. And they're really dark with residue and stuff like that. And then just having a little tease around there, and you can see that there's a bit of wear and tear on the actual... on the knot there, but we'll get to that another time in a different video and to helping sort that out. Looking at the other ones to check what condition they're in as well, and that's that just about done. There we go, it's spinning freely, cogs are all nice and clean, dust free, no fibres trapped in behind from what I can actually see with my eye. And we've just popped round on the other side where the crank is, and thankfully it's not a lot of fibres in comparison to sometimes it can be, but that's what we've got there, because I haven't been that long since I cleaned it anyway. So I'm just going to tease them with my little tool, my little gadget, and then just pull them free. So that's moving freely as well. Get my brush, give it a bit of a clean, make sure there's no dust and grime sat on it so it can move freely. I do apologise for the camera work, I'm not a professional. So there I'm showing you that it's running freely, but I'm also explaining that sometimes where the actual pivot bar sits for the drum carder, it will sometimes trap the fibres in there. So because the other side's free of fibres, you can actually move that drum section back and forth, which helps you in being able to manipulate the fibres that may be trapped in between the wooden hole. And you can just tease them out by jiggling around. So here again, lost my audio on here, so I'm just showing you how much fluff, dust and dirt and grime I've managed to get off that drum carder. And I'm about to reposition you to put the drive band on now, which honestly it's really easy job to do. It's not really hard at all. It just takes a little bit of patience and looking up the photo that you've taken on your phone. Find the picture. There you go. So what I generally do is remind myself which way it goes, which is over that cog there, the far cog, then over the top of the second one, which is holding your drum carder, and then onto the bottom cog, and then back over the main wheel. So over, around, onto that bottom one, and then you want to get the band lay on the top like you would if you were putting a drive band on your spinning wheel, and then instead of pulling and yanking and stretching the drive band, you want to just gently turn that big cog round so it just pops back into place, and there you go, hassle free. Give yourself a round of applause, you've done a good job. So I have no idea what I was waffling about there, but hey ho. I can't believe I've lost my audio. So yeah, I was getting the packing brush, and I was just giving that a bit of a clean. I've been using it over the weekend. So again, get my soft brush and give it a dust off, and dust underneath the bristles as well. Get my yep, Joe, dust under your bristles. Get my little hairbrush cleaning rake, and then just go through the fibres there, make sure there's nothing trapped, any extra dust that may have caught as it's been turned on the back drum, but it's relatively clean. I was quite happy with that. It shouldn't be really any dirt on there, because the odds of you overpacking your drum carder is, it's not going to really affect that back brush. So that's that all done and nice and clean, a bit of a dust and a blow. So it's just really, really important that you do give it a good clean every so often, and always clean your drum and your liquor after every time you've used it. That will help as well. So I've had to take off the last section of that video and refilm it again, which was just a quick chat anyway, because I lost the audio, have no idea why. But I just want to show you that is all the dust that was underneath my drum carder. I'll pop a little picture of what my desk looked like underneath. What I want to also mention as well, that even if you had a standard carder or a jumbo carder, with a standard carder you're going to find that where your drum, the distance between the worktop and your back drum is a lot shallower than it is with a jumbo carder. So you really do need to, after every time you've finished doing a couple of bats, make sure that the space underneath it is actually kept clean, and you just shove your hand through or lift it up, clean away your mess, because when you go and drum card later on, again, whenever, you may find that you start dragging those fibres, because they will start to touch and catch on to the back drum when you're blending. With the jumbo carder, it doesn't happen that often unless you've left it for a really, really long time, or you've been doing loads and loads of drum carding and blending throughout the week. I mean, a lot. Then you'll end up having to have a massive build-up underneath, where the Angelina, and you're blending with woolen silk, the Angelina is actually catching on your drum carder underneath from where your worktop is, and then you're wondering, where's this Angelina come from? So yeah, there we go. And that is all the fluff that I got off the drum carder itself. So I just wanted to say that it is important for your equipment to keep it nice, clean and tidy, mostly for your own work, because you don't want all this grime carrying on then through there. You're going to get grimy bits and pieces anyway throughout your work, and dust particles and stuff. But keeping and maintaining your equipment nice and clean, especially for me coming from a chef and catering background, your equipment's your importance. That's your tools. That's your tools you trade. You need to keep them really good and clean. And also, if in the future you decide that this craft is not for you and you've paid out a lot of money for these bits of equipment, you want to make sure that they're in the best condition that they possibly can to forward sell them on. If you've got an old carder that you've got second hand and it's about 15-20 years old, and I will talk about this in another video when I get round to doing it, this again when it needs it, and we'll take the nuts and bolts off and stuff. Sometimes you'll find a lot of wear and tear and bits of rust and grime and everything on the nuts and bolts of your old, really old drum carders. You may need to replace your carding cloth as well. So we'll talk about that and where you can get them from. But it's really, really easy to remove your carding cloth and replace it with a new one. What you find harder is trying to find somebody who'll actually cut out the right dimensions of the carding cloth that you need, and use the correct, really strong double-sided tape that you need for the back of the cloth, because you need to take the bar off the top of your back drum, unscrew it, lift it off, and then you'll see the beginning and the end of the carding cloth. You just peel off one section of it, and then it's only stuck in those two, like literally about an inch and a half of tape that holds it in place. Until you put the bar on it. So it's really easy to do that. I've done it a couple of times myself with a standard carder when I've had to replace it, because a lot of use on that when I first started. Also using this 3-in-1 oil is your friend when it comes to getting an old carder that you've inherited or bought from somebody, and as I say, it's a good decade old. It's maybe not been maintained as well as it could be. Then you want that to help get rid of dust and things like that, grime off the nuts and bolts when you take it apart and then put it back together. And having a photograph of everything as you take it off, so you know exactly where it went. It's always handy. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Even though it's a private video, it really does help the algorithms, and it doesn't cost you anything to do that. It just helps me and my channel grow. And I'll catch you next week. It's Q&A. I'd really appreciate it if you haven't already, go pop over onto the Professor Sheep picture that I posted up last week. Go over there, pop down a question, query, any thoughts, any questions to me, stick that on there, and then I can get that video filmed for next week. I really appreciate that if you could help us out with that, because this community on this platform doesn't go anywhere unless you all help me and participate and just encourage me and egg me on. That's all we need. I can't get you the answers unless you ask me. So that's me for now. Take care of yourselves, and I shall see you next week for Q&A. Bye for now.